Hallo Freunde, da sind wir wieder bei Avowed. Wir sollen zurück nach Paradis, denn wir haben ja... hier verlassen. Wir haben ja den Botschafter gefunden und die Reste, nennen wir es jetzt mal, des Schlüsselmeisters. Und kehren jetzt zurück. Noch irgendwas, was wir nicht gesehen haben? Okay. Zurück nach Paradies.
That's far enough, Outlander.
Was? Wo seid ihr denn?
Well, well. If it isn't the new arrival. So eager to make a name for himself.
Wer bist du denn?
I'm your death, swift and subtle, like a blade in the dark. And this here is Pod.
Hello.
Well, I can see which of you two is the poet. Unfortunately, you're both short on common sense.
Me and Pod, we aren't so fond of Outlanders. Especially ones looking as strange as you. For all we know, you're one of those sick bastards. A plague carrier. A blight on our fair city.
Nö. Der paranoide Joch.
Hey, boss. If he's really sick, maybe we shouldn't get too close.
Shut it, Pod. Let me do the talking.
You're doing great so far. Really menacing.
No one brings the plague into my town, Outlander. No one. At least you can die knowing it wasn't personal.
Dann los. Mein Geist wird einfach einem Wächter erzählen, wer mich getötet hat.
Boss, is that true?
What did I tell you, Pod? I do the talking.
Oh, could I watch you really do that? To track down a murderer by asking the dead who killed him? Oh, gods. What have I done? Wait, I haven't done anything yet. There's still time.
Nicely done.
I can't do this anymore. Thieving and killing, it's just not in my blood.
You ungrateful nitwit! Once I'm done with the Outlander, I'm coming after you.
Good. I was getting tired of listening to them
yeah.
anyway. This one's mine.
Ja, und ab, ja. Oh, daneben. Na egal. Oh, was war das denn?
That's one for us.
Kryptischer Brief. Wir sind bereit, ein stattliches Kopfgeld für Informationen über den iranischen Botschafter zu bezahlen. Über seinen Tagesablauf, seinen Lieblingswein. Es gibt nichts, was uns nicht interessiert und alles hat seinen Preis. Aha. Okay. Granaten, schön, schön. So, Pott, komm mal her. Komm her, Keule.
Sorry about what happened earlier.
Hm.
I
Na
never
gut.
wanted to kill you, just rough you up a little.
Na gut. So. Eine Werft, ne? Cool.
Nice banner, ain't it? I found it on the beach, covered in bird shit. Must have washed ashore from parts unknown. Gods be with you, envoy.
Okay. Hängt also irgendwelche Banner auf dir finde? So. Wer ist er?
Welcome to Paradis,
Ach, sie.
The ambassador's expecting you.
Good work out there, envoy. Only just arrived and you're already the talk of the town. Well, the ambassador ordered me to give you free access to the city. No idea why he's calling the shots all of a sudden, but...
That sounds ominous.
Anyway, you can go on ahead. The ambassador's expecting you. Well, she comes and goes. You never know where she'll turn up, and it's never for a good reason. Kind
Die
of
freue ich mich ja
like a
schon.
nightmare. Once you're in the city, you'll find the Adiran embassy due north of the gatehouse. Take care, envoy.
What? No parting words from me after all the time we spent together?
Shove off, Muttonhead. How's that for a parting word?
With talk like that, it's no wonder the adherents think we need a little civilizing. At least I'm in good company now. Right?
Ja, total. Ich bin die beste Gesellschaft. Hallo. So. Mhm.
Envoy!
Okay, das war's. Was ist jetzt passiert? Okay.
You should not be here. You should be free, whole, the blood feeding your veins. Why are you here?
Wo bin ich?
Space within emptiness, where the gods live and the dead wait. A cage, a prison. We feel the souls of multitudes, a current beneath the skin of this place. We could dip our hand in once, feel them near us. But now, we are trapped like wasps in amber. But you should be alive.
Ja, ich bin tot, oder?
Worse, you died. Someone cut short your span. An arrow broke the skin. It carried poison to your veins. A festering blot of corruption spread through the root and sap. It stilled your heart. It silenced the song in your mind. Yes, we would see them hurt too, writhing like a dying adder. We can give you this chance. We could send you back. Just this once.
Wie zurückschicken?
The minnow can slip the fisher's net, even while the prize remains. And the fox chews its leg off to escape the hunter's snare. It is the only way. We will use our waning strength to free you. Then you must find us. Free us from our prison.
Danke.
You are ours. We tend to the sprout on the bough. Breathe deep. All birth is agony.
You're awake? Thank the gods. For a second there, I thought I had a problem on my hands.
Wer bist du?
Liviana, the local sawbones. I wish I could take credit for saving your life, but I believe I had very little to do with it.
Glad to see you with us. I was sure you were already on your next trip around the wheel, but I brought you here just in case. If anyone can work a miracle, it's Liviana, though whatever restored you is beyond even her skill.
Wer hat mich umgebracht?
That's what everyone in Paradis is asking. The streets have been less murderous since your ambassador and his guards took up residence. But your assassination is bound to upset that uneasy peace.
There's something I still don't understand. Envoy, you died.
Was?
A night of heavy drinking could awaken your soul. Who knows what death could do to it?
What does this mean for him? Should he expect anything else strange? Other than coming back from the dead, I mean.
That depends on a few things. Visions and hallucinations? Likely. Manifestations of past lives? Uncommon, but possible. Not as often as I used to. This is far beyond my expertise. You should visit Runid, our local watcher. She would know what to make of your strange, stubborn soul. You've worked with one before. Good. You have an open mind. A watcher examines the soul down to its very core. I can't think of anyone more qualified for the job.
Okay. Wo finde ich sie?
Runid's shop is in the hills to the northeast. A bit of a walk. Just head out of the gate to the east of town and follow the path that curves to the north. It should be perched up in the hills. Oh, but avoid the watcher in Hightown. She's a known charlatan. I'll send word to the ambassador that you survived, but he'll no doubt want to talk to you.
Danke.
Head up the stairs outside my clinic and take a left onto the main road. That'll get you to the embassy. Apologies. Paradis is a bit of a maze,
Wieso soll
especially
das
to
verwirrend
newcomers.
gewesen sein?
Don't worry. I know my way around. Which is why I should go with you. Your assassination is bound to have stirred things up. Don't mention it. Besides, I don't want this to blow up any more than you do. The sooner we solve your murder, the better for everyone. And we should talk back at camp. I'm hoping you can help me understand what just happened to you.
Ja, mal den eigenen Mord aufklären ist natürlich nicht schlecht, ne? Okay, das heißt, wir sind jetzt gestorben und Zapadal war das, glaube ich, auch, ne? Oder war das jetzt ein anderes Wesen? Tu alles, was nötig ist, um den Gesandten zurückzubringen. Ich weiß, dass du einmal ein Beseeler warst und wenn du noch deine alte Ausrüstung hast, nun einige von uns sind bereit wegzuschauen. Wenn der Gesandte stirbt, kann ich für deine Sicherheit nicht garantieren. Ein Freund. Huch? Okay.
Hey, I had a dream about you. In my dream, you were surrounded by light, but it was shining from inside.
Okay. Ich gehe mal lieber weg, okay? Oh. Ich habe unsere hiesige Kräuter mit denen verglichen, die wir aus Edir importiert haben. Wenn meine Ergebnisse stimmen, dann ist alles, was im Land der Lebenden wächst, wirkungsvoller. Alles. Sowohl Heilmittel als auch Gifte. Natürlich wachsen die besten Zutaten in den tödlichsten Teilen des Dschungels, also vielleicht sollte ich ein paar Samen ernten und jemanden bezahlen, um sie in den Republiken anzubauen. Einfach nur, um zu sehen, was passiert. Oder vielleicht sollte ich das Festland lieber nicht verseuchen, bis ich verstehe, womit ich es zu tun habe. Doch nicht so eine schlechte Idee, ne? Dann gucken wir doch mal, was die jetzt so an den hat.
What can I do for you?
Check. Das ist ja Edelstahl. Ach, die sind echt nur zum Verkaufen da? Okay. Das ist aber Veredelungsmaterial, okay. Okay. So. Quatsch.
You're looking well. That was a long time ago. I gave it up when I lost a couple of good friends in a lab accident. Never had the courage to look back. It's better for everyone if I focus on healing the body instead of the soul. You know how it is. Fighting in the alleys, rumor of a plague, odd creatures skulking out of the wilderness. Someone somewhere always needs to get patched up. And when they need me, here I am.
Okay. Düsterbräu. Liviana, Smaragdtreppe ist ohne dich nicht dasselbe. Meine Beseeler benötigen verzweifelt Führung. Ich verstehe, warum du gegangen bist, aber deine Talente sind in diesem Schlangennest verschwendet. Wenn du genug von der Heilung des Körpers hast, komm zurück zu uns und arbeite an der Heilung der Seele. Ignasi Vidaro. So. Und ist gleich wieder ein Pfeil an? Hä? War doch gerade. Achso. Chip. So. So, wir wollen einmal zum Botschafter. Zack. Zitrone. Wein.
Godlike. Interested in saving a couple of lives? So,
Die haben alle
you're
Frisuren hier.
Godlike, the Adiran envoy. You're the one who saves the ambassador from the strangle route, right?
Yep, bin ich.
Interesting. Say, would you be up for helping out some down on their luck Adirans who can't catch a break?
Kann man versuchen.
Galarde. Loughled and Gladwine came here about 8 years ago, long before the recent rush of adherents. They admitted to having a checkered past back home, but they started a new life in Paradis. Back then, you'd struggle to find an adherent in the city. Now they're everywhere. Well, let's stick to the matter at hand. Anyway, with all these adherents coming in, Loughled and Gladwine started spotting old faces. And if they were spotting old faces, it was only a matter of time before those faces started spotting them back. They're lying low in the shantytown for now, but they mean to leave for Thirdborn.
Adherents in the shantytown. I doubt they're getting a warm welcome. Most of the people there are Paradisans run out by Adir.
They're afraid to go out in public, and Gladwine, poor soul, he's gone blind from bad drink.
Heilmittel auf Pflanzenbasis.
Exactly. And the required herbs grow in the wilds around Paradis. It's a little too dangerous for us ordinary folks, but for the Adiran envoy, for the hero who braved the strangle route, I'm sure it will be no problem.
Ending with flattery is a nice touch.
Agrasima.
Schauen wir doch mal.
Many thanks, envoy.
Paar Kräuter finden wird gehen.
There is one more thing they need. Land deeds. They've already paid for them. There's a Rawatayan in the Pearl District, Mako, who was handling the paperwork. No. We had a falling out a while back. It's best if someone else goes.
Na, schauen wir doch mal.
Thank you, envoy. God bless you.
Die kommt mir nicht sehr vertrauenswürdig vor. So. Hi. Hm. Er trifft nicht. Was ist denn da los? Das ist ja auch völlig unnütz hier. So. Oh, was ist denn das? Das sieht ja cool aus. Und es ist zu. Oh? Nein, nix. Okay, dann mal rüber zum Botschafter. Mal gucken, ob die Wachen uns reinlassen. Dem Aufbau danach aber nicht. Oh, doch. Okay.
You died, but you're here.
Garrick!
Gods, am I glad to see you.
Envoy, hello. I'm glad to see you on your feet. Kai.
Tej,
I'm surprised they let you in here.
I'm surprised you're still gainfully employed.
I didn't mean anything by it, Envoy. He's just curious company for you to keep.
Hey, somebody has to have the envoys back, because you all sure didn't.
No one expected the Envoy to get assassinated.
Exactly. Amateurs.
Da steckt wohl noch mal ein
Well,
Kai?
come on, it's funny. Tej caused a ruckus last time he was slumming it at the Ballarrock. You were trying to kill a man, if I remember right. I had to put you outside.
You threw me into the canal.
You lived.
That water's filthy. I had the runs for 3 days.
Gods, Tej. The envoy doesn't need to know that.
The fellow cheated me. I couldn't let that slide. Or he'd think we were all marks.
It was over a dice game, right? Tej here has a gambling problem.
Great. Let's air all my troubles. Is there anything else?
The bartender sleeping with your girlfriend.
You're lying.
You sure about that?
We'll talk about this later.
I'm not breaking up with her for you. Just so we're clear.
That's more than enough. Thank you. Was there anything I could help you with, Envoy? Naturally, sir. How can I help you?
Erzähl was von der
Consider
Inquisitorin.
yourself lucky. Inquisitor Ludwig is the commander of the Steel Garrote in Paradis. Were you to ask her, she'd say she keeps the peace. But she doesn't keep it so much as prosecute it. As ruthlessly as the ambassador will let her. She's also a veteran of the Steel Garrote's campaign in the Deathfire, where she died.
She's a death guard. Well, that explains a lot.
I don't know what happened to her there, but I suppose Wodeka wasn't done with her yet.
Wir hatten einen Todeswächter, der über die Archive in Braganil wachte.
Cryptic Neil! I remember him fondly.
Du warst dort?
Don't look so surprised. Not every student of the university takes the field work like you. There are endless ways to serve the Empire, Envoy, particularly in the Living Lands. Here, there are no archives, no processes, all a blank slate for me to define. And I happen to like a warm bed and cool beer. Unlike back home, here in Paradis, we live within 100 miles of ice. But that's neither here nor there. We were discussing death guards. Death guards are surpassingly rare. Some of the secretaries who traveled with our dignitaries in the Dead Fire spoke of one named Iser, a devotee of Berith, who guards the hanging sepulchres there. But I have heard of none others except those I've read about in the histories. They are people, most often paladins or priests, so devoted to a cause that they simply refuse to pass on to the wheel when they die. Their soul haunts their body. The passion required to sustain them devours their flesh, and they swiftly turn to bone. I've never read a history nor tale of a death god that did not end with them going quite mad. When they lose their capacity to care for anything but their cause, they cannot love. And when they cannot love, they cannot be merciful. And so everything before them becomes only an obstacle.
Ja, dann ist ja klar, dass die irgendwann ein Gegner wird, ne?
I only met her once. She was a mid-level member of the Steel Garrote then, chasing oathbreakers who'd fled Adiran law. She'd come back to the Imperial Archives to borrow a map to a place called Oathbinder's Sanctum. I remember she was furious because the map was quite poor. She worried about finding the place, about properly executing her duty to her god. She wanted, I think, to do a good job. So, while clearly she has changed, in some sense, I'd say she's much the same. Think upon your promises and die. That's the litany of the Steel Garrote, usually said right before they kill you. They're an order of paladins born and bred in Adir, though clearly they've found plenty of work beyond our borders. Their remit is simple but comprehensive. They punish all who break their oaths. In practice, that has historically meant contracts. One lord or merchant will hire the Steel Garrote to bring a duplicitous rival to justice.
Fun bunch. What are they doing in Paradis?
Since the events in the Dead Fire, their operations have expanded. The Steel Garrote has always been associated with Wodeka. Now, they are explicitly her order. And they go wherever Wodeka's priests, or Wodeka herself, believes there is a need for them to go. The Living Lands are a dangerous, lawless frontier in sore need of order. Thus, they are here. Or so the Steel Garrote say.
Also ist da irgendwas in Todesfeuer passiert.
Do you think so? I've always found her inflexibility comforting. Wodeka's edicts are clear. If you obey her laws, pursue justice, punish the guilty, and give fealty to the Emperor, then you have pleased her, and I aim to please. But Wodeka does not trust. She demands that you declare yourself for her again and again. Her every request is a test, and her every test is an opportunity to disappoint her. I appreciate a god who makes you work for their grace. I don't want anything given to me for free. Of course. Well, you'll notice I'm nearly always here. If that man sleeps, I don't know about it. He wouldn't say, but I believe he relied on the claviger far more than he lets on. And without the claviger's steady hand at the rudder, the ambassador's struggling just to bail water from the sinking ship that is Paradis.
Claviger Aemon might have tolerated a little more chaos than the ambassador liked, but he kept this place humming. He's not someone you can easily replace, and not with one man alone.
It's a difficult job. The pressure sometimes gets the better of him. But if he loses his temper now and then, I can't blame him for it. Better him than me. He doesn't know what to do with himself. You know, in our first days here, he'd often walk to the end of the docks at sunrise. The work was done, the embassy was closed, and he'd still be wearing the same clothes he'd slept in at his desk. And he'd just stare out over the sea. He always seemed dissatisfied back then. I suppose, years later, he still does. Oh, be serious. Most of us here didn't get sent to the frontier because we were anybody's favorite. The longer I'm here, the more likely the people who matter are to forget me. And I'd actually like to get back to High Crown someday. Get married, have a few kids, take the civil exams, and settle into a permanent clerkship.
I guess there are worse ways to spend a life.
Like rotting in this embassy. I'm an open book. I trust whomever told you to consult a watcher also told you to avoid the one in the city.
Yep.
She is a liar and a thief.
Oh, did you take your money?
No. Anyway, watchers are individuals capable of perceiving souls. The soul may be in a living body, or it may simply be lingering, waiting to pass into the in-between. In either case, interacting with a soul allows a watcher to glimpse a person's past lives or their most deeply buried memories. Watchers are incredibly rare, and in Adir, highly controlled. Many people wish to know who they were in a previous life, and do not like what they learn. The smart ones stay hidden. They do not announce their powers, perhaps not even to themselves. Even a careful watcher risks inadvertently revealing themselves by knowing something they shouldn't know. Of the ones that are public, little is concretely known. But we hear things. They make good judges in Wurka's courts, so long as they're controlled. The lords, it's rumored, buy and sell them to collect blackmail on their enemies. But I suspect many watchers are imprisoned or executed, or simply kill themselves. A watcher doesn't need your cooperation or consent to read your soul. They could learn everything about you, terribly damaging things about your parentage, for example, or things you did in a past life, without you ever knowing. You see how this could threaten the established order, undermine our betters' right to rule.
Yeah, but that's just one side to it. Imagine how a watcher feels, knowing what a threat they are to the status quo. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be keen on kings and emperors wanting me dead. Sounds like a lot of hassle.
Don't sell yourself short, Kai. I don't doubt you're an expert in people wanting you dead.
You're not wrong.
I rarely am, in any case. The Watcher is fundamentally a tragic figure. Of the few that survive our world, most are destined to go mad. Yes and no. So far as I understand it, a Watcher is born a Watcher. But it takes an event, often something shocking or traumatic, to bring a Watcher's powers to the fore. So you may be a Watcher, or I may be, or Kai, and we might not even know. Well, the Watcher of Cadnua is legendary. It was their castle Aethys destroyed when he began his campaign of terror in the Dead Fire. Oh, by the Queen, I hope I get to meet them someday. In terms of local interest, you'll have heard of Runid, of course. And there was Ida. You may not know about her. She was a Watcher from the Living Lands. I believe she was an Orlan. She must have died, 150 years ago. Slain by a great serpent, gods treat kindly with her soul. Doubtless there are others, but most don't meet a good end. By all means. What would you like to know? If you're looking for a particular year, the first thing you should know about Paradis is that this isn't the kind of place where the locals keep records. And though it might be considered a distant backwater by the rest of the world, this city is the height of civilization by the standards of the Living Lands. As for who calls this place home, I suspect you could find a criminal, confidence man, or prophet from every civilization in the world here.
Hey, come on. You're gonna give the envoy the wrong idea. We've got draft dodgers, courtesans, and revolutionaries, too. You know, all the fun people.
In any event, as far as I can tell, Paradis has been this way since its inception. Thus the eclectic display of architectural styles. If nothing else, this city is a reflection of the countless people who have passed through it on their way to the interior. Depends on who you ask. Ambassador Heelgard will tell you that our remit here is to establish a secure and orderly environment from which to engage in trade. Inquisitor Liudwin will tell you we're here to break the frontier.
So, which is it?
Why not both? That's where you come in. Whether you find your desires aligning with the ambassadors or the inquisitors, neither can succeed until the Dream Scourge is ended. We are only beginning to see its effects here in Dawnshore, but the closer to the center of the island you go, the worse it gets. That bear you and the ambassador encountered in the Strangle Route isn't even the worst of it, and the tide of this soul plague is rising higher every day. Look, for all that I complain about this backwater, there are good people here, same as anywhere else. People who want to be able to walk to the market in the morning for their bread and eggs and know they won't be mugged. People who like it when the mail comes on time, and their skates are made from real copper, and their neighborhood peeping Tom ends up in the stocks. Those people, good and honest people, who pay their debts and honor their contracts and remember to thank the gods, they like us a lot. The Resistance, as such, are largely a group of misfits and criminals intent on undermining the rule of law. They take out loans with small Adiran banking houses and do not pay them, then assault the bankers who attempt to collect. They agree to contracts with families in Adir seeking homes, and when their ships arrive, promptly abandon them. When we levy a small tax to fund the repair of city roads, they set our counting house on fire. And when our fishermen return to port, they board their ships and sink them.
That's certainly one way to characterize them. It's not exactly wrong, but it's not exactly right either.
For decades, people like them ruled this city through fear. We imposed order, and now they oppose us. You, unfortunately, were caught in the crossfire. I'm an open book. There's a lot of ground to cover. Could you be more specific? Ah, the age-old question. Who's bigger? Adir is, naturally, by a wide margin. And were we at the Cartographers Guild in High Crown, I could show you on one of their globes. As it is, we must make do in the theater of our minds.
Kopfkino. Ah, das ist eine Menge Inhalt, hatte man lange nicht mehr, finde ich gut.
The Living Lands are located in the far north of Eora. Adir is southwest of the Living Lands, situated along the equator. The Living Lands are more arid than Adir, and the island is more prone to storms. But its many deep valleys protect the various townships from the worst of the weather. Topographically speaking, the Living Lands are a place of extremes. Deep inland, mountains rise high enough to rival those of the White March, blanketed year-round in snow. While east of the volcano of Mount Forja is an acid sea that sinks far below the level of the ocean. The lands between them are riven with deep clefts in the earth and isolated by wastelands of sun-baked sand dunes. I'll share what I can. There is no singular authority in the Living Lands.
Not yet, anyway.
I shudder to think what the Living Lands would look like under your rule.
Well, to start, there'd be a lot more brothels.
Charming. Power is invested in the leaders of the various townships scattered across the island. The largest are Fjord, Thirdborn, and Solace. None of which, I will note, are as safe and orderly as Paradis. Fjord Messeverno is located in a valley known locally as the Emerald Stair, named for the terraced rice paddies that cover its hillsides. It is our closest neighbor. The city, if you can call it that, was founded 50 years ago by animancers from the Valian Republics. Apparently, the laws governing animancy weren't lenient enough in the Republics. So the city's founders came to the Living Lands, where they could practice their discipline more freely. Currently, Fjord is governed by a man named Ignacy Vidaro. Rather inept to hear the ambassador talk about him. Fjord's farmers supply most of the grain and vegetables we eat here in Paradis. Or it did. Their shipments have been infrequent lately. Something about a blight in the fields. In any event, I believe that covers fuel. The Valian Republics are a collection of city-states in the Eastern Reach, southeast of our former colony, the Deerwood. The Republics began life as colonies of the Grand Empire of Valia, hence the name. But as Grand Valia's economy collapsed, well, the colony saw an opportunity to escape the influence of the Empire of Origin, and they seceded, much as the Deerwood did from Adir. Now a mature confederation in their own right, the Republics have recently indulged their own expansionist ambitions in the Deadfire Archipelago. Through their merchants in the Valian Trading Company, the Republics will sell you anything you could ever wish to buy.
Up to and including people.
We should count ourselves lucky they've had no interest in the living lands. In a struggle between our Emperor and the Republic's great dukes, well, I doubt we would come out on top. But if anyone asks, I was not the one who told you that. Everything you need to know about Thirdborn is in its name. It was founded by the third-born children of Rawatai, Navy dropouts, smugglers, and hands for hire. Almawa and Orleans, mostly.
Home, sweet home.
You're free to go back any time you like.
I like my current circumstances just fine, thanks.
They are people, in short, who couldn't cut it in the civilized world, and had to make room on the margins. Unfortunately, they are currently besieged by the Dream Scourge. We have sent some troops to lend what help we can, and the mayor, Temerity, was appropriately grateful, but I don't know how long they'll hold out. Rawatai is one of the old empires, every bit as storied as Grand Valia or our native Adir. If Adir is to the southwest of the Living Lands, Rawatai is to the southeast. And unlike our home, their small continent is racked by terrible storms. This is due, or rather, was due, to the island's proximity to Andra's mortar, the unending super hurricane that once hid the ancient city of Ukaizo. Rawatai is largely peopled by Almawa, descended from those who fled the Deadfire Archipelago centuries ago, when Andra pulled the moon, Ioni Brather, into the sea. They are an aggressive, militant culture, and personally, I find their obsession with gunpowder rather quaint. They are also our chief rivals on the world stage.
I don't think they see it that way.
No?
Well, as far as Navy brass is concerned, Adir doesn't really rate.
Now you're just making things up.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but we don't think about you at all.
Solace is, what is there to say, really?
Yeah, they tend to have that effect on people.
The trouble is, I don't know much about Solace. Nobody does. They are an isolationist community of Pagrunan dwarves who live in the forbidding ways of Galawain's tusks. They don't let outsiders into their lands, and they don't let their people out of them.
Some folks get out from time to time, but they can't ever go back. And the ones who survive aren't eager to talk about their experiences.
People aside, the land itself is incredibly hostile. The island's volcano, Mount Forja, rests at the heart of the region, and it's recently become active. Half the land is lava rock, and the other half is, well, literally lava. I don't know why anyone lives there. I have to assume they're all insane.
You have no idea.
Naturally. The Pagrunan are a unique community of mountain dwarves originating in Old Valia. As a people, they've made their name as explorers, builders, miners. No doubt you've seen their ruins in your travels, here, back home in Adir, and all across the world. They maintain a rich tradition of oral storytelling, chanted magics, and ritual carving, which they take great pains to record and transmit across their various communities. Even the most physically isolated Pagrun is not alone. Somewhere, one of their people is thinking of them and planning an expedition. Abidan must cherish them.
You sound like you admire them.
I suppose I do. Of course. Should you ever need me, I will be here. Safe travels, envoy.
So. Wir haben dieses Buch auf einer Parkbank gefunden. Nach sorgfältigem Studium bestätigt unser Schreiber, dass die Handschrift mit der Signatur auf den Schriftrollen von Tynes Chaoskugel übereinstimmt. Sei darüber in Kenntnis gesetzt, dass sich Tyne im Land der Lebenden aufhält. Als Mitglied des Zirkels der Erzenmagier hat er die Freiheit zu gehen, wohin es ihm beliebt. Wir werden ihn aus der Ferne beobachten, aber niemand soll mit ihm in Kontakt treten. Tyne ist entweder ein harmloser Narr oder einer der gefährlichsten Zeitgenossen der Welt. Wir dürfen bei dieser Sache kein Risiko eingehen. Liebes Tagebuch, hier bin ich nun im Land der Lebenden. Diese Insel ist vielleicht nicht der sicherste Urlaubsort, aber sicherlich der bunteste. Und auch der schmackhafteste, zumindest diesen Pilzen nach zu urteilen. Und Pilze lügen selten. Bevor ich es vergesse, ich habe Bekana versprochen, ein Souvenir mit nach Hause zu bringen. Es gibt Gerüchte über einen gefallenen Stern in Smaragdtreppe. Das könnte eine nette Ergänzung für ihre Sammlung sein. Auf der Innenseite des Buchdeckels hat jemand eine Nachricht gekritzelt. Falls verloren, bitte dem Erzberger Tane, Autor von Tanes Chaoskugel, zurückgeben. Okay, dafür brauchten die Steigerotte also Forschung. Im Reich der Edir. Im Jahr 2602 AI kehrten edirische Entdecker von jenseits des Ozeans zurück. Sie berichteten, dass sie dort Ruinen und Schätze vorgefunden hätten und weitläufige Felder, die wie geschaffen für den Vorlassanbau waren. Die Entdecker warnten den Verkönnigen, dass die einheimischen Fremden gegenüber nicht freundlich gesinnt seien. Doch der Verkönning sah nur die Gelegenheit, sein Reich zu vergrößern und Handel mit einem neuen Kontinent zu etablieren. Er sandte weitere Entdecker aus. In den nächsten 20 Jahren wurde das Gebiet, das später der Dirwald wurde, erforscht, kartografiert und besiedelt. Im Jahr 2623 AI wurden die ersten dauerhaften edirischen Kolonialsiedlungen gegründet. Vorlassfelder wurden nördlich der Wälder des Dirwalds angelegt, doch durch die Konflikte mit den Glanfatanern und den Krieg der zerbrochenen Steins konnte die Kolonie nicht aufblühen. Erst 2643 AI bot sich eine neue Gelegenheit. Einige eotasische Pilger, die der Verfolgung entgehen konnten, gründeten Siedlungen und Vorlasshöfe im Gebiet der Redkeras. Diese Namen, boah. Da Großwelja vor dem Zusammenbruch stand, wollte der Verkönigin die Kontrolle über den Handel mit violetten Färbemitteln an sich reißen. Er förderte die Besiedlung und bezahlte sogar dafür, dass die Pilger sich in der neuen Welt niederlassen konnten. Da der Verkönigin noch immer versuchte, sich einen Namen im Färbemittelhandel zu machen, konnte er nicht angemessen reagieren, als Admet Hadret sein Ultimatum stellte. Um eine Rebellion zu vermeiden und sich Zeit zu verschaffen, die Vorlasshöfe in Redkeras zu überwachen, gab der Verkönigin nach und machte Admet zum Gref-Palatin. Im Gegenzug investierte Admet Zeit und Ressourcen in die Handels- und Transportwege des Dirwalds, was dem Verkönigin ein höheres Einkommen erbrachte. 7 Jahre lang versorgte der Dirwald Edir mit regelmäßigen Einnahmen, dass der Verkönigin Zeit hatte, sein Handelssystem in Redkeras zu festigen. Da die Aufmerksamkeit des Verkönigs auf andere Dinge gerichtet war, ging Admet die 10-Jahresverträge ein, mit denen er die Sklaverei im Dirwald beendete und eine der Einnahmequellen der dirwaldischen Entdecker dauerhaft zum Versiegen brachte. Die Artefakte aus den Ruinen, die im ganzen Dirwald zu finden sind. Zu dieser Zeit hatte das Wort des Verkönigs für die Bewohner des Dirwalds fast keinen Wert mehr. Admet Hadret hatte ihn als ihren wahren Anführer ersetzt. Um Admets Stellung zu untergraben, suchte der Verkönig Verbündete, die bereit waren, entgegen den Bedingungen des Vertrages die Ruinen zu erforschen und Artefakte daraus zu plündern. Bald besaß Edir wieder eine Quelle für Artefakte, die es verkaufen konnte. Als seine Agenten schließlich geschnappt wurden, distanzierte der Verkönig sich von den Geschehen, wohl wissend, dass es keine Beweise gab, die zu ihm zurückführten. Der Gref aber benutzte Mittel, die ihm seine glanfatanischen Verbündeten bereitgestellt hatten, und konnte beweisen, dass der Verkönig hinter der Plünderung stand. Der Konflikt, der durch diese Enthüllung entstand, führte dazu, dass Admet im Jahr 2668 die Unabhängigkeit des Dirwaldes erklärte. Nach einem blutigen, 4 Jahre andauernden Krieg, in dessen Verlauf Admet fiel, gab der Verkönig nach. Der Versuch, die Kontrolle über den Dirwald zu behalten, war zu kostspielig geworden. Er unterschrieb Verträge mit dem neuen Duke des Dirwalds und richtete seine Aufmerksamkeit wieder auf Redkeras. Er verstärkte seine Bemühungen, den Vorlasshandel voranzubringen, der noch heute besteht. Menge Story, finde ich super. Finde ich richtig gut. Super, das hätten wir ja mal vorher lesen können hier. Etwa um das Jahr 2200 AI vereinigte sich eine Gruppe von Stämmen, genannt das Hirschvolk, zu einer... Das haben wir schon gelesen. Ja, das kennen wir schon. Botschafter Hildegard. Ich sorge seit vielen Jahren für Ordnung im Paradies. Im Paradies, es müsste in Paradies heißen, mit in Nordpol, ne? N wie Nordpol. Ich kenne diese Stadt. Wenn es einen guten Führer und eine faire Politik gibt, gibt es Frieden. Aber du? Du hast der Steigerritter erlaubt, mein Volk zu terrorisieren, Misstrauen und Angst zu sehen. Ich schlage vor, dass du die Leine dieser Inquisitorin straffst, sonst kann es sein, dass die Botschaft deiner Banner nicht mehr lange trägt. Edir ist ein Land, das reich an Tradition und Brauchtum ist. Die strikte Einhaltung dieser Traditionen ist einer der Grundpfeiler der iderischen Gesellschaft. Das Spektrum der Bräuche reicht dabei von großen Feiern, wie dem Festmahl der Festmale, bis zu trivialem Aberglauben, wie den Möglichkeiten, eine Swefsucht zu vermeiden. Dieser Band beschäftigt sich primär mit größeren Feierlichkeiten, denn niemand weiß rauschendere Feste auszurichten als ein Adira. Das Festmahl der Festmale. Die größte und wichtigste aller iderischen Traditionen ist das Festmahl der Festmale. Dieses Fest wird während der gesamten ersten Woche des Fonestu, Zielvorsommers, gefeiert und ist dem Leben des ersten Fährkönigs gewidmet. Jeder Tag der Woche beschäftigt sich mit einem anderen Aspekt des Lebens des Fährkönigs und bei jeder Mahlzeit werden spezielle Gerichte serviert. Das Festmahl der Festmale hat seinen Ursprung in einer Feier zur Geburt des ersten Sohnes des Fährkönigs und wurde schnell zu einer jährlichen Tradition in der Woche seines Geburtstages. Heute nutzen die Iderer es schlicht als Ausrede für ein rauschendes Fest, bei dem sie sich stets bemühen, das Fest des Vorjahres nochmals zu übertreffen. Und sollte der geneigte Leser sich fragen, wie ich es tat, welcher Fährkönig während des Festmahls der Festmale geehrt wird, es ist stets der momentan herrschende Fährkönig, denn jeder Fährkönig ist der erste und einzige Fährkönig. Naschzeug. Der Brauch des Naschzeugs kam im Laufe der Jahre während des Festmahls der Festmale auf, um die Kinder zu beschäftigen, damit die Eltern in Ruhe speisen konnten. Das kenne ich. Der Brauch dient zwar auch heute diesem Zweck, wurde jedoch darüber hinaus mit einer gewichtigen Bedeutung versehen. Jede Süßigkeit wird in einen Behälter gelegt, meist kleine Metallkisten, und irgendwo auf dem Grundstück versteckt. Nachdem alles versteckt wurde, ziehen die Kinder los, um die Schätze zu finden. Heute sagt man, dass die verborgenen Süßigkeiten glandfatanische Artefakte seien. Die Kinder schlüpfen in die Rollen von Entdeckern, welche die Reichtümer zu ihrem neuen und rechtmäßigen Besitzer bringen müssen. Das ist ja süß. Karneval der Masken. Als die ersten idirischen Kolonisten in das neue Land reisten, um den Dirwald im Namen des Verkönigs von Edir zu gründen, trafen sie auf das glandfatanische Volk. Der Karneval der Masken wird zu Ehren dieser Begegnung gefeiert. Ursprünglich war er schlicht eine formelle historische Nachstellung in Form eines Theaterstücks der Spannungen zwischen den Glandfatanern und den idirischen Siedlern. Inzwischen aber hat es sich zu sehr viel mehr entwickelt. Die Teilnehmer wählten eine Seite und verkleiden sich in aufwendigen Kostümen, die deutlich machen, welche Gruppe sie angehören. Den Edirern oder den Glandfatanern. Alle nehmen an einem Maskenball teil, der heute das eigentliche Theaterstück längst verdrängt hat und nur noch als Fest zählt. Wintersend. Wintersend war nie etwas anderes als eine willkommene Gelegenheit für ein Fest, das hat sich in all den Jahren, seit der Tradition in Edir besteht, nicht geändert. Das Fest findet während der Winterdämmerung statt und dauert die vollen 3 Tage. Die Leute lassen das vergangene Jahr Revue passieren, feiern ihr Leben und erinnern sich an die Toten. Vor allem an jene, die während des Jahres verstorben sind. Die Kartographengilde. Lange Zeit diente die angesehene Kartographengilde den Kaisern und Königinnen von Edir. Wir sind es, die für die Erstellung und Verbreitung der vielen Karten im ganzen Reich verantwortlich sind. Ob um Reisende durch die Weiten Edirs zu geleiten, Schiffskapitäne auf ihren Reisen durch Jeora zu führen oder einfach nur die Wände des Hauses eines Aristokraten zu schmecken. Es steht außer Frage, dass die Kartographengilde für jede einzelne dieser Kunstwerke verantwortlich ist. Seit mehr als 200 Jahren, seit das edle Expeditionskorps den östlichen Abschnitt entdeckte, haben wir daran gearbeitet, das gesamte Imperium und seine Kolonien mit genauen und hochwertigen Karten zu versorgen. Und wenn es den Göttern gefällt, werden wir das auch in den kommenden Jahrhunderten tun.
You've got some God looking out for you.
Mit dem Botschafter, liebe Freunde, reden wir in der nächsten Folge. Macht's gut. Ciao.